Yo, I don't even know what to say. Anyone who was on YouTube around 2010 should know about Amnesia the Dark Descent. It was a game that was everywhere because PewDiePie kinda popularized it. But that wasn't the only reason. The game was developed and published by Fractal Games, and this was the big break. Because before this, they were working on the Penumbra series. But the reason why Amnesia did so well is because the gameplay was so different from other horror games. None of them were like this. The game wouldn't let you use weapons regardless of the situation, and that alone was such a big game changer. Normally you would have some way of defending yourself, but not the case with Amnesia. Plus, you could defend yourself, but not in the way you would have thought. The game allows you to hide behind shelves, bookcases, crates, and hearing that now sounds so normal, but back then it was such a big deal, and such a unique concept only found in movies and books. When you have no way to defend yourself, you can only hide. That left the player vulnerable, as if they themselves feel like they were part of the world. And this was only enhanced with monsters managing to find you in the game of hide and seek. If monsters generally knew where you are, they would tear down doors and kick obstacles out of the way. If they managed to spot you while you were hiding or just exploring, they get extremely fast and will try to kill you. And it's very important to know that the thing that you're most afraid of is the darkness itself. But it's also the means to your survival. You need to fear and live in the darkness to hide from the enemy. But it will cost your sanity. If your sanity goes down to the deep end, then you're going to start hallucinating bugs, the camera will shake, and you won't be able to see all that well. The only way to stop that is by staying in the light to regain your sanity. But don't stay there for too long or the monsters might see you. The inventory system for this game works fine. But sometimes I feel like I should be able to do something with the tools I'm given, but the game won't let me, and this is a slight issue with these types of horror games. I also hate the camera sometimes, as when your sanity is low, the camera moves differently. It's as if it was trapped in a cutscene, but would only go away once you're baked in the light. Not a massive issue, but rather a mild one. There's not too much to dislike about this game. It's fun, and the puzzles given are unique. Some are definitely harder than others, and they can be super obvious, as when I was doing some, I felt a bit dumb as they were super simple. But I do wish the game had a map of sorts. There are a plethora of times where I've been somewhere but was unsure if I was in a different area. Some locations are too familiar and others are just really confusing. There's an area where you have to collect a bunch of pieces, and it is the most confusing an overbearing thing that you have to overcome in this game. And it's something, it's just a level, it's just an area, it's not even a puzzle. So essentially the whole level is covered in red mist, and you're trying to find broken pieces of a orb. But essentially trying to find these pieces are the most complicated thing because they're scattered around, and trying to find them is so cumbersome. I had to go on Google, find a map, and use that map, and then start following my way into each of the individual rooms that are in that one area. It was so frustrating for no reason. Plus, I wish the objective markers would be a bit more handholdy, at least for people like me, as I'm not too sure if I know how or where to complete a certain objective, and it would be perfect for someone like me who wouldn't have to break their immersion by going onto Google to find a certain objective in order to complete it. It'll be much better if the game would actually tell you certain things in what to do, or even some form of way of hand-holding. But if not, I suppose that's fine because Google exists now, but you know, it kind of ruins the immersion. To move on, the atmosphere is perfect. Ambient sounds are playing, the creaking sound of floorboards to the footsteps from afar, the chains rattling, it all accumulates into great sound design. Although the chipping from the player character is a bit annoying. At first I thought it was when enemies are nearby, but instead it's just rattling teeth from the low sanity. And when enemies do spot you, it lands in the oh hot damn moment when your heart is pumping and hands shaking. But because this game is quite old now, when it comes to the darkness, it's not pitch black. You can see a green murky color surrounding it. And it doesn't ruin the illusion but it kind of is showcasing how old the game is. Lastly, this story. I'm not sure how to talk about it as there's no cutscene, so bear with me. You are Daniel from London. During the beginning of the game, you are hallucinating and you keep telling yourself you're Daniel from London, and that's all you really know about yourself. You wake up in the middle of the mansion where you're told to kill a man called Alexander. You drank a potion to forget all the things you have done, and that's the story. Anymore, and it's really a spoiler. If you don't care, then after that, you go around collecting pieces of paper found in the mansion, written by you and other people who were here. The story starts to unfold the more you collect these pieces of paper, but some are harder than others. If you miss a piece, you won't be able to go back. So it's important to keep exploring. Other than that, you find out that Daniel had gone on an archaeological expedition with Professor Herbert. Daniel, separated from his group, found a strange orb that was calling to him. He decided to take it back to London where Daniel was reading and telling everyone about it, writing people from Herbert's address book. It was here when Daniel had been suffering from nightmares, and all of his men that Daniel was with had suffered horrible deaths, even the professor. Alexander, one of the men in Herbert's book, invited Daniel, offering him protection at Brennenburg. He took the offer and was told that a shadow had been following him, plaguing everyone around him, due to the orb. But Alexander also said that Daniel could use the power from the orb to fight back, but had to undergo a ritual. Underground the castle were prisoners who Daniel had to kill and torture. Alexander told Daniel that a final ritual was to take place, but first they had to go and kidnap children from a farm. Daniel killed one of those girls as she tried to flee the castle. At this time, Alexander had taken the orb and hidden away in the inner sanctum. Daniel felt betrayed. He felt as if he turned into a monster and promised to kill Alexander for turning him into a beast. He wiped his memory with the Amnesia potion, setting up the events of the start of the game. As you continue the game, you find a tortured man named Cornelius. Is that how you say his name? As you continue the game, you find a tortured man named Cornelius, who explains there are more orbs out there and Alexander broke his one, so Daniel has to go around and find all 6 pieces and a tub of tar. When you reach Alexander, you find out he's not really human but an alien man who had been stuck on Earth for 7 centuries. Now he's trying to find a way out. It's here where you have 2 possible endings. Let Alexander complete his ritual, letting yourself be consumed by the shadow, or stopping the ritual, killing Alexander and setting yourself free. There is another ending, but that's optional. You have to create a potion for Cornelius, who asks to cut his head off and place it as soon as Alexander opens his portal. Doing this, the shadow will consume both Alexander and Daniel, but Cornelius will come back and save Daniel. And that's really all there is to talk about. The game is fun, and if you haven't played it, I think it should. It's super cheap and costs nothing nowadays. I would talk about Amnesia, a machine for pigs. However, it doesn't really work properly, and I don't really know why. Whenever I try to play the game, it's always like zoomed in. I tried fixing this solution with a variety of options that I've given, of answers that were given on the internet, but none of them seem to be working. So I'm gonna just have to skip that game. Alright, see ya. Bye.